Tonight on The Local Live, the county executive speaks about recent vandalism at the Garden of Remembrance. There are changes in voting laws in New York State. Watch some highlights from the annual Fall Food Truck Festival. And how should parents respond when their child comes out as LGBT? That's tonight's roundtable topic with a therapist and a parent who's gone through it. Good evening from the LMC TV studios. It's Thursday, October 10th. I'm Maura Carlin. Welcome to The Local Live. U.S. Representative from New York, Nita Lowey, will not seek re-election in 2020. The news was just announced earlier today. The press release says, quote, "Thank you to the people of my district for the opportunity to serve. I will continue working as hard as ever with the same optimism and energy through the end of this term in Congress." And you can read the full statement on her website. Lowey was elected to the House of Representatives in 1988 and is the first woman to serve as chair for the House Appropriations Committee. Prior to 2013, her district included Larchmont and Mamaroneck. So thank you for your service, Nita. On Wednesday, October 9th, County Executive George Latimer held a press conference about the vandalism at the Garden of Remembrance in White Plains during Yom Kippur.
On Monday, there was an incident at the Garden of Remembrance, which is a county park facility in which two flyers with adhesive backing were placed on two of the signs on the outside perimeter fence. Because of the timing, that it was at the time before Yom Kippur, which is the most solemn day on the Jewish religious calendar, and because it was done at a location which is specifically put aside to remember those who suffered from anti-Semitic behavior in the days of Nazi Germany, we certainly believe this was a purposeful act of hatred. When we stand up together, make a simple faith. We're Americans. We hold certain truths to be self-evident, and that when hatred manifests itself in this fashion, we will both pursue the person who sponsors that hatred, and if there's a basic method to bring them to proper punishment, we will do that. And we will also make sure that there is no home for hatred here.
New Yorkers now have the ability to vote early. We spoke with the League of Women Voters and the town of Mamaroneck to find out what this means for our residents.
In 2019, landmark legislation was passed in New York regarding modernizing our voting laws. And this included synchronized state and federal primaries, so you don't have to vote several times in the primaries. Pre-registration for minors, meaning that you can register before you're 18, and then on your 18th birthday, you're automatically registered to be a voter. And third, when you move within the state of New York, you take your registration with you. You used to have to re-register. But perhaps most importantly for this election year and for the coming years is early voting.
The town of Mamaroneck has been selected to be one of the early voting sites in Westchester County, so we're very happy about that. Early voting will take place from October 26th to November 3rd. Eligible voters, and an eligible voter is someone who is already registered to vote, can vote early in the election. It's still unclear at this point whether anyone in the town of Mamaroneck can vote anywhere in Westchester County, but fairly confident to say that anyone in the town of Mamaroneck, including both villages, will be able to vote at the town center.
It's terribly important for people who don't have a lot of time, and I urge you seriously to take advantage of early voting. Particularly important in this election, many of us don't even have contested elections, but looking ahead, particularly for the 2020 presidential election, early voting will be very significant, and everybody needs to vote. Voting is the most important and precious gift that we in a democracy.
The town website can direct you to the Board of Elections for any updates and early voting information. And stay with us. We will return in a moment with our roundtable discussion about what a parent should or should not do when a child comes out as LGBT. Welcome to the Roundtable. October 11th is National Coming Out Day, and that's our topic tonight, from the parent's perspective of what to do or not do when your child tells you he, she, they is LGBT. Our guests are Sarah Etkin, a mother, and Lisa Schumann, a licensed social worker and director of the Center for Family Building. Thank you for joining us. We're going to dive right in, and the first question is, how should you respond when your child comes out to you?
Very simply, you respond with love. This is your child. It is never easy, usually, for a child to come out to their parents. And chances are that child has known who they are for much longer than you think. So even if you think that this is a rash decision, or if they're too young, or if they just can't be right, you just express your love. It's your child, and it may be a journey you're going on that you didn't plan to, but you're all going to be going on it together.
And the professional advice?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think she really is an awesome mom. After all, she's absolutely right. It's really important to share your love. I also would like just to add one other thing, is that this is the child's agenda, which I know you agree with, and so because of that, it's really important to let the child lead their way. They may or may not want to share details with you, and so it's really important to let them take control of the conversation. You know, I know one mom who was very excited about it. She thought, she was so happy that her child was gay. She thought this was so fabulous. And she asked a million questions. And so, of course, this child shut down and didn't want to talk to her, even though she was really excited that he was open with her.
So I got it. That falls into the what you shouldn't do or say. Are there other things you shouldn't do or say when your child comes out to you?
I don't think you should say you're too young to know, or are you sure, or you've never had a boyfriend or girlfriend, so how could you possibly know? I think that they know, and when they're ready to come out to their family, they know for sure. They wouldn't be taking this leap of faith without being really sure who they were.
Lisa?
Right, and I do want to emphasize that it's really hard for a child to come out. And no matter how accepting they think their parents are going to be, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And so again, I think it's just important to be supportive, let them know you appreciate that they confided in you, because that's a big deal for children to take that leap, and tell them you love them and let them take the lead. Not everything has to happen in that one conversation.
Well, are parents usually surprised, or did they already know? I mean, I guess in other words, are parents usually the first or last to find out?
I find that many parents are in denial. It's very, very hard for many parents, even the most open-minded parents, to look at their child and understand that, even when it may seem obvious to other people. It's very hard for the parents to understand that about their children.
I think some parents also just never thought about it. My child was 12 years old when they came out to me, and to be honest, I never thought about their sexuality. It was just not on my radar yet. But I think as far as, where parents fall, as if they're the first to know, the last to know, is usually somewhere in the middle. I think it's very common for kids to come out to their peers first, and then come out to their parents a little bit later.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to then return with more of our discussion, so stay with us.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 30 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. We're talking about when your child comes out to you, and right now I'd like to focus on how the parent may feel, regardless of how they actually respond to the child. So, some I might not believe it and think it's a fad or a phase or a trend. What do you say to that? Do you think there's validity in that?
I don't think so. I think it is common thought for parents to have, but I think there are very, very few kids who come out to their parents and it turns out to just be a phase. I think that it's like I said before, I think that the kids usually come out to their peers first. I think that that's sort of testing the waters and how comfortable they are talking about it, seeing what kind of acceptance or lack of acceptance they get from their friends, and then they go to their parents.
Is that what you've seen, Lisa?
I see that, but I also see that a lot of kids experiment. You know, we live in a very different world than when I was growing up. And a lot of kids experiment, and they decide what they are in. I saw a girl in my practice the other day who just experimented with some other girls, and she said, I was curious, but you know what? I decided I like boys. Now, she may change her mind again, or she may not. I think what people miss sometimes is it's not black and white.
Things are more fluid than some of us thought growing up.
And you don't really know where the path leads to. So my child came out at 12 as bisexual, and then about 6 or 7 months later came out as transgender, which for transgender families, it's a pretty common path that they see their kids going on. So one doesn't lead to another, but I don't think it's unusual for there to just be a little bit of wiggle back and forth. You know, they're still young kids. They're figuring out who they are and who they want to be. So, you know, it's a journey. It really is.
Well, Lisa, what should a parent do if it's against their beliefs, ethos, or religion?
Well, it can be very difficult for parents in general when your children are not who you think they were going to be, right? People worry a lot about what's going to happen. Am I going to have grandchildren? What are my cousins going to think? All sorts of things. And I think the minute your child comes out, you sit on your hands, bite your tongue, take a deep breath, tell your child how much you love them, and you can go in your room and have a reaction to it. You can't show your child. You need them to know that you love them and accept them, and that any concern you have about it is your issue.
Right. And so how do you deal with your issue?
Just like you would about anything else. This is your child, and what's most important is not what's going to happen in that conversation, but what's going to happen overall. You want the conversation to go well, but you also don't want to have your child feel that they can't trust you. So if you show any sign of feeling really uncomfortable, the child might hesitate the next time in talking to you openly.
We had a question earlier about you've accepted that your child's sexual orientation, but it's still bothering you. It's not, you're concerned about the complexity or expense in creating a family, or afraid for their safety. Do parents need therapy to deal with this at times, or is there something you should be telling yourself, you know, even if you are doing everything right vis-a-vis your child?
Yeah, I see a lot of parents in my practice who go through this. I work in family building, and so I see a lot of people who are having children with donor eggs or donor sperm, and many of them are gay or lesbian or transsexual, but there's never a time where they're not feeling like they need to battle with these sorts of things, even if it seems like their whole neighborhood is comfortable with it. So I think that people have different levels of discomfort, and if they feel that they can't get past it, then yes, it's important to see a therapist.
Who tells grandma or anyone else in the family?
Your child decides who and when other members of the family or friends are told. It is their story to tell.
And should it be told by them?
Whatever your child wants. So some kids want to be the ones to say it, to explain it, and to answer any questions. And some kids want mom or dad to take care of it, either in person at Christmas dinner or by email or by text. But it should be led by your child in who, how, and when.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with that, and I also think that there needs to be also this extra layer of protection. If you know grandma's going to have a bad reaction to you, and your child's feeling very vulnerable, you may want to sit down and say, okay, let's walk through this. I want to support you. Let me share with you what my concerns are about grandma. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this and don't feel badly. So I think we also have to kind of protect our kids in that way.
Okay, well, we're going to take another break and then continue our conversation, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. Now we're going to talk about available help for you, your child, or other family members when your child comes out. So for starters, for your child, should you put some kind of support in place right away, whether it's a safe space or someone to talk to or a place to go?
I think some of it is you play it by ear. I think support is life-saving and it's life-changing, whether you're seeing a private therapist, going to a support group, or a combination of both. I think it's important for the children and for the parents and siblings to find other people who are dealing with the same issues and have a safe place to speak, to be frank, to make mistakes, to talk about things that they don't want to say out loud to their kids, but they want a safe place with other parents who understand what they're dealing with and their experiences and are at different levels of that journey as well.
And does that continue? I mean, you deal with a lot of older people also if they're trying to have children, they're adults. Are they still dealing with those issues at that point?
Many of them do. I mean, it's remarkable to me to watch these kids grow up and have a negative reaction by their family members and then still continue to try to work it out so that they can save the relationship. I mean, it's so brave of them, really. But it is hard, and a lot of times we really work together to try to find some meeting of the minds, because it's so important to really preserve that relationship and make sure the child feels good.
So do you try to get reticent parents to come in and meet with their children, whether even adult children,
Yes,
and talk?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And is that part of counseling, like particularly if you're starting a family and you're going to have another generation?
Yes, sometimes it's about starting a family as a gay or lesbian couple or a single trans person. Sometimes it's about just working out these issues with your kids, and sometimes it's about the kids having to come out and not maybe feeling safe with the parents, and so they want to do it in a setting where they feel comfortable. And sometimes it's just to work out some hurt feelings that came up along the way.
So these are issues you deal with at the Center for Family Building
I do.
all the
Yes,
time?
yeah, all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that's obviously one resource. Now I know you also had some resources that you found in the area.
Yeah, the Loft and Center Lane has been a huge support for parents, both of...
Why don't you tell us what the Loft is?
So, well, Center Lane is an organization that offers support, connections, a way for children ages 13 to 21 to come in, meet their peers, like-minded peers, and get self-esteem, self-confidence in who they are, and have a safe place for them. And it also offers that for the parents as well. So the parents can meet in group therapy, for lack of a better term, and it's really just sharing your experiences, offering help to new parents, having new parents be able to see somebody who's 3 years down the road, and all the bumps in between. So I think those kind of group counseling sessions are so important for the entire family. And then we have New Rochelle Pride, which is an organization recently founded in New Rochelle that is also offering resources, training, sensitivity training, and social outlets for the LGBTQ community.
Okay, so there are a number of resources in the area. It doesn't necessarily make it easier when you're with family, an extended family. Would one, which, bring a support person to, let's say, Thanksgiving dinner to help, I don't know what the right word is, not moderate, but explain or and obviously Thanksgiving dinner is just a euphemism, but to help with extended family.
You mean to bring a professional to dinner?
Yeah.
I think it's good to kind of help that person set up a situation that's going to be comfortable for them. Some people don't feel safe around grandma or grandpa or their cousins, and they don't want to talk about it. Some kids feel like they really want to talk about it and they want to be open. And so it's good to try to prepare for what that's going to be like and try to make sure that the child's not going to feel any sort of discomfort, you know, that the parents are staring at them or the aunt or uncle is starting to ask them inappropriate questions, for the parents to really make sure that they can protect them. So I think it's all in the preparation.
So keeping them safe from their family, in a sense.
Well, and giving the child empowerment to know that there will be boundaries for certain questions, or what boundaries does the child want? What is off limits? You know, when people first hear something new, they have a lot of questions normally, or they don't have any questions, which is almost worse, because they're not. The lead balloon has landed, and nobody has anything to say,
or doesn't know what to say.
Right. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sarah Etkin, Lisa Schumann, and thank you for watching the Roundtable. Stay with us. We've got more community stories coming right up. It was a beautiful autumn day in Memorial Park last Saturday for the annual Town of Mamaroneck Fall Food Truck Festival, and the Local Live was there to capture this delicious event.
It's a beautiful day, lots of families, there's a whole kids section over there, pumpkin patches, bounce house. The community is just out, it's wonderful, it's a really great way to celebrate the town, Larchmont, it's awesome.
Over the weekend, Larchmont's Memorial Park was closed down for this year's Food Truck Festival. The people flooded in for this year's lineup that included over a dozen different vendors. But the food wasn't the only attraction, as there were several different merchants and storefronts scattered throughout Memorial Park, along with demonstrations being done by the fire department and police department.
Every year we try to do like a community event, an open house. So we have our one of our rigs down here, so the kids and parents can see what the equipment all about. And we have also handouts, hats, footballs.
And while Chief Hughes was teaching everyone how to put out the fires, Truck 1, a converted fire truck, was firing out their pizzas.
Very cool, our kids don't quite understand it. They think that it's a real fire truck that just happens to make pizza.
But it's awesome.
And it tastes really good too.
With all the different options and activities, the Food Truck Festival brought the community together as a whole.
I think it's great. There's a huge crowd. I think the band is awesome.
I'm amazed at the turnout. It is way more people than I ever expected.
And it's great to see all these people out on a beautiful day like today. I mean, it's great for the town of Mamaroneck.
This is Tyler Gavin reporting for LMC TV.
And this week in sports, the Mamaroneck boys soccer team, ranked #1 in the state and 18th nationally by the USA Today, they hosted league rival Scarsdale. Captain Jack Lowinger already had a goal to his credit when Liam O'Reilly, who was named the Con Edison Scholar Athlete of the Week, set him up with a perfect cross in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Free kick there by O'Reilly and hit it in. And is that Lowinger again? It definitely is. Jack Lowinger with the header off the assist from Liam O'Reilly. And Mamaroneck takes a 2-0 lead with 15:46 to go here in this first half. Great pass by O'Reilly. Great hitter by Lowinger.
If you missed the live broadcast, you can catch replays of the Local Live twice a day on this channel and on the LMC TV website and YouTube channel. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook to stay up to date on things you may have missed. Thanks for watching The Local Live. I'm Maura Carlin.